In this video, I'm going to be showing you the 3 steps to validate your app. And at the end of the video, I'm going to be showing you how you can validate your idea in 1 hour. The 3 steps are, number 1, who are you helping? Number 2, what's the success look like? Number 3 is the workflow to validate your app. Let's start with number 1. Who are you helping? Are you trying to solve a problem for yourself? Or are you helping someone or a very specific industry in need? This is something to keep in mind because as you're going through this, you're going to be having to focus on who you're trying to help. And that might seem very basic, but a lot of times when people are starting to create an app, they're all over the place. They're thinking everyone can use their app or everyone should use their app. And that's just not the case. When you're starting out, you need to be hyper-focused to help one type of person to solve their problem. Write in the comment section down below who you're trying to help. Or write it on a piece of paper so you can keep this in mind as you're building your app. Number 2, what does success look like? This has to do with the end goal of your app. This has to do with the end result of using your app. For example, think about Instagram. What is the end result? You're taking a picture, you're adding a filter, and then you're posting it. You're going through the motions. You're making the picture already look better using some type of filter. You're posting it. And at the beginning, a lot of times it got so much notice when it was shared out or other people noticed it, then they want to be a part of that platform. The same is true about your app. Think about what would the end goal look like? What kind of actions do they need to do? And don't get caught up with, I need this kind of button or it needs to look like this app. What does success look like? And start writing that out. Also, too, if there's something on the market that is similar, make notes of that. You want it to be the Instagram of blank, right? So you can take something that's popular and then remix it to whatever you want, but you have to first see, is there anything on the market that accomplishes your goal already? If it doesn't, okay, great. You're creating something original, but a lot of times you can use other apps or other platforms as a reference and then turn it to what you're trying to accomplish. Now that we've gone through the basics of who you're helping and what does success look like, we're going to be talking about how to validate your app. And this is really important. Without validating it, people go on and on looking for the best tool that they're trying to use. But in the end, you're just spending too much time researching and then you're just paralyzed. You get overwhelmed and then you just don't start at all. That's why we've created this workflow, how to validate your idea, and it's a workflow to get started within an hour. So make sure there's going to be a link somewhere down below where you can download this for free, and you can go through this as we're discussing this. Let's get right into it. This is the workflow to validate your app idea. Okay, so the first thing is, do people need your product or service? I know this seems really basic, but if you don't know, you have to find out. If you're not sure, if you don't have any feedback or people are excited about it, you need to go find more people. And you can do this either going into specific Facebook groups, subreddits, or making a list of family and friends and start calling them to see if you can solve their problem. You have to see if your app, if whatever you're trying to provide actually is going to be something they need. And it's got to be different than just a nice to have, because there's a phrase in marketing like you're trying to sell painkillers, not vitamins. Vitamins, they're good for you, but they're not really something that you notice in your life. If it's a painkiller, if you're in pain and you have a painkiller, it's stopping the pain. It's instant. People feel that instant gratification that now they can move on with their life. Your app has to be a painkiller. The next part you're going to be looking at is, does it already exist? If it doesn't exist, great. We can move on and we can start testing it even faster. But if it does exist, you have to decide, can you make it better or can you make it different? Okay, so if you're trying to create the next Facebook, you saying that it's going to be the next Facebook isn't good enough. What are you going to create to make it look different or make it better? It might be Facebook without X, and you go on and on. The other way is, like, say, for instance, people want to do like, I'm creating a platform like Facebook groups without being on Facebook. It's giving you the sense of community without you being on Facebook. So you're explaining a reference where someone would understand, okay, I've been on this kind of platform or I've used something like that. Now I'm doing something a little bit different. For example, DuckDuckGo is a search engine that is built on privacy, or that's its angle. So it's going to be the alternative choice than something like Google or Bing or something like that, because they're saying we're still a search engine, but we're different this way. You've got to decide, how are you going to stand out in the market? If we're thinking about an app idea, just deciding, hey, we're going to be an Uber or a Lyft alternative, that might not be good enough. You might be able to say, like, we're the Uber or Lyft of this country or this county that doesn't have Uber or Lyft, maybe. Okay, so you could make it more localized, so then people would want to use your product. But you've got to think about your angle of what you're going to be doing with your app. Have you thought about it? Do you need help with that? Put in the comment section down below. Now, if you can't make it better or different, you need to keep researching or talking to people about what they need help with, what they're trying to solve, to really dial in what you need to do. If you can make it better or different, now we can move on and get to the next stage of validating. The next step is, will people want it? Okay, so if you're not sure, you have to listen to adapt. If you can't even get them to nod their head or get them really interested, it's not good enough, right? If they just give a passive, like, yeah, that's not bad, that's not good enough. You need to have someone, we call this like the eyebrow test. You've got to get their eyebrows raised up and like, oh yeah, like I want that. That's when you know you've got something. So you're looking for energy. You're looking for people enthusiastic about it. Then you can go into the next phase. The next phase is, do I want to do it? This is really important, because a lot of times you might get so caught up with someone liking your idea, you haven't thought about it long term if you actually want to do the project at all. It could just be something that you know a lot of people are interested in. You're like, yeah, I could do it. And then you sit back for a couple minutes. You're like, I don't even want to do this. And what's really important to know is, to have a successful app or a platform or anything you're doing, it's not going to happen overnight. It's just not going to happen. And you've got to have that mindset. It could happen overnight, but the vast majority, it's going to take years to really perfect this. And it's important to have that mindset, because if you hit a speed bump or a setback, and everyone does, if you didn't want to do it anyway, you're going to just give up on it. So you need to align with a project or an app that you actually want to do. So when you're getting the tough times, you're going to push through it. Now, if you're not sure, think about a few different factors. Number one, how easy is it for you to do? This is important, because if you can do something, if you can create an app or a service that you can do it in your sleep, you can still pursue this, because now it can actually be your moneymaker. It can be the driver for all of your other experiments. For example, if you're looking at products like Amazon, they have something called AWS, Amazon Web Servers, and that part of the business allows Amazon to do so many other crazy, adventurous things, because they've already got a portion, something in that's making the money all the time, that is pretty stable. It's not AWS is powering some of the biggest companies in the world. So when you're thinking about those things, what are you going to be doing? What do you need in order to be a success for your business structure? Now, that's only if you can do it in your sleep. If you're still thinking about how easy is it for me to do, and you're saying, well, I need to learn a new skill, how many months or years will that take? It might be too much for you, and you're going to have to either simplify the idea or abandon it. For example, if you're doing something with machine learning or AI, and you're trying to do very advanced parameters to create a system that uses machine learning and AI, and you have little time to learn those things, you're not interested in it, and to do something like that, you're going to have to invest a serious amount of energy and time. Do you want to do this? Do you need machine learning or AI in your project to validate it? Those are things to consider as you're going through this. Now, if we're on the other side of the house, if you're saying, I do want to do this, you say, yes, that's awesome. It's time to get to work. And where are we going? This entire process, it's to the ask. What is the ask? It is you asking the ones that are excited about your project, are they willing to pay? And the reason you're doing that is you have to validate with a currency, with some kind of exchange, if it's worth it to them. It is not enough for someone to just say, great, that's a great idea. Let me know when you build it. Because 9 times out of 10, the person, by the time you finish your project, when you haven't gotten paid and you're just going off of goodwill, you go and turn around and try to sell them the app or have them use it, and they're just not that interested. You have to have some skin in the game. They have to have some skin in the game. And the easiest way, the litmus test to tell if they're serious about whatever you're trying to do, call them out and ask them to pay for it. This is a pre-sale. You need to get some kind of pre-sale before you continue. If you get no pre-sales, it's not good enough. Your app is not good enough. Plain and simple. It's a hard truth, and it hurts. It really does hurt. But without getting that validation with some type of currency, you're going to be going too far down the line of experimenting, trying out all these platforms, trying to figure out what you're going to be doing with your app without getting the right metrics. If you can't get a pre-sale, you have to go back to the beginning and understand, is this the right target audience? Am I solving their pain point well enough? All of those things. Now, this is something really hard to think about. This is going to give you a lot of rejection. It's very easy to tinker and feel great and just build out what you want. And if you're just trying to build something out like a hobby or something that scratches your own itch and you can go your own speed, you can do this. But this purpose, this workflow is to validate your idea for you to make this a real business or app. This is the whole purpose. Bottom line, you've got to be honest with yourself. If you're getting rejections, if people are giving you pushback, dig a little bit deeper and ask them, what would you want different? What's going on? Why isn't this something that you would buy? Because if you're looking at something, if you're paying for your phone, internet, whatever, you wouldn't pay for it unless it's essential, right? The same thing with your app. If you're going to see that it changes someone's life, they're going to want to pay for it. If they're not willing to pay for it, it's not that impactful for their life, or they don't connect the dots that it's going to solve their problem. In the comment section down below, let me know where you are in this stage. Let me know what you think about this process. This is what we do with all of our students and our clients weekly. If you're interested in that, you were looking to be a student in our next cohort or be a client, there's going to be a link down below to fill out an assessment and we'll contact you. But if you're not ready for that and you just want to do this as a side hustle or whatever, take the time to get the link to get this workflow so you can start validating your idea today.